If you have ever tried to give your voice AI caller access to a knowledge base where you can basically feed him custom PDF documents or maybe even website content, you definitely know it's going to be technical. Luckily, Vapi has just released a feature where you can get your voice assistants, both for inbound and outbound, access to files and documents that you can just upload to their platform and can use directly within your voice AI assistants. And all of that without programming anything yourself within a visual interface. At this point in time, the feature isn't really documented. There's nothing in the docs. I checked it all and I literally didn't find anything. So all I'm going to show you now is basically what I figured out so far on how you can use that feature and how you can take advantage of that before everyone else. So first of all, I think the feature is super awesome as it eliminates the need for any external vector databases that you need to implement into your system through external APIs to get your bot access to. This is a solution that is directly integrated into Vapi, so you can definitely expect the best performance. Until this point in time, I have used custom vector databases using Qdrant, for example, or for our no-code solution lovers, I have used Relevance AI to integrate those custom knowledge bases into my voice AI assistant to give them context. But since now everything comes out of the box within Vapi, you will not need to deal with anything like that, which is just incredibly powerful. Now, while this video aims to show you what I have figured out so far, it is obviously not a complete tutorial as there is a lot of stuff that is just literally not out yet, probably, or is not documented at least. So in case you would like me to make a deep dive about this specific feature, once it is actually completely documented and released, definitely let me know below in the comments, would be highly appreciated. And with that out of the way, let's dive right into it. So the first thing I'm going to show you is the actual feature itself. Obviously, you definitely need to have an account on Vapi if you would like to see it. So all you do is you head over to Vapi, go to their dashboard, and within the dashboard, you will now see a new option that is called Documents, which is located under the overview right here. So if we are clicking on Documents, it looks pretty empty and there's not much to do except that you can upload documents, but you can simply just drag and drop up documents right within here that you can upload. And obviously, since it's not documented, I just tried to debug and check out what is inside the input fields, so what kind of formats they support. And based on what ChatGPT tells me, they basically support Markdown, PDF, plain text, and the Microsoft Word types, so both doc and docx. So all of those files can basically be uploaded directly inside of the Vapi assistant, and I have verified that as well, so those really work. And now to actually show you how you implement that into a static assistant, first of all, I'm going to go with you through an example. In case you have not heard of a static assistant or a transient-based assistant, which are the both ways that Vapi uses to create those powerful AI assistants, definitely check out one of my previous videos where I explain and break everything down for you. For now, let's get that example running by simply going to the Assistants tab and creating a new assistant. So in my case, I'm just going to use the customer support agent, as all I would like to do is literally test the documents. So I click on continue. I give this wonderful woman again the name of Lisa instead of Eva, because it's just easier to pronounce on the phone. So obviously I can now go through here and change all of the occurrences of the name Ava and change them to Lisa, which I'm probably not gonna do, just for a couple of them. So that's enough. And now, obviously, the whole assistant is already predefined. So if you've seen my previous videos or you know about Vapi, you know exactly what to put in here and how to fill it out. And the feature we are looking for is basically located right within the model tab right here, which is knowledge base. So here you can select a document and basically adjust it and add it to your assistant and then click publish. So for now, let me just quickly publish that as I just adjusted the master prompt. And what I'm going to do now is I head to documents and I upload a document. So the document I upload is basically something that I just created using ChatGPT that contains the company details about a real estate company that is called Bright Horizons Realty. It is something that I've used in my previous examples a lot, and it is just a company I came up with that doesn't really exist. And all we're going to do is now use this fictive data from that company to actually feed it into our voice assistant. So all you need to do is you need to take the respective file you would like to upload. In my case, it is a text document, and you can click on upload. By the way, this text document will also be available inside of my resource hub, including all of the other information that you see right within this video. If you have not heard of my resource hub, it is a place where I share files and anything, templates, whatever you see inside of my YouTube videos completely for free with any one of you, so that you can literally just copy and use what I'm creating inside my videos, inside of your business, for your clients, for whoever else you would like, so that you don't need to build anything by yourself. All right, with that out of the way, let's just click here on upload and upload our company document, which just takes a little moment. And as you can see here, it tells you the size of it, you can download it, and it also shows you the ID, which is going to be very interesting at a later point. So after we have uploaded it, we can simply head back into the assistant, and now when we are clicking on the dropdown, we will see our file that we just uploaded right here. So I can simply select it and I can click on publish. So it says error updating assistant, which I assume is probably just a visual problem, because I think if I refresh it, this should still be connected, and it is. So it basically still works. So I guess that's just like some visual issue that they have on the platform right now, but we can ignore that. Apart from that, there's another feature that they just released apparently, which I haven't also seen before, which is this detect speech emotion. And I have read on the Canny board earlier that this is basically something where when you or the user that this voice assistant speaks with says something, it uses sentiment analysis to actually get the emotion or the feeling of the person and append it to your actual prompt. What this means is that you can actually design your prompt so that you can actually respond more emotional to the answers of whatever the user asks. So in case he's angry, it can respond in a certain way. If he's happy, it can respond in another way. And all of that is just basically defined in prompting. And I've just seen now that they actually have included a part of the prompt here as well that defines already that it can adjust the conversation in a specific emotional way, which is great. So that's just out of the box. I just figured that out myself now, which is great. So that's not the purpose of the video though. So let's just move on with what I actually want to show you. So the document I have uploaded now contains the following content, which looks like this. So it has the name of my real estate agency, it has some welcoming text, it contains the business details, and it also has some opening hours, leadership, etc. And you can see it says here Jane Smith is the CEO and founder, and Chief Operating Officer is John Carter. So what we are going to do now is, since I have basically uploaded the document, this assistant should have access to that information. And to prove you that it actually has, what we are going to do now is that we are literally just calling that assistant. So you can look through here as well. There's basically nothing mentioned about Bright Horizon Realty in the first place, because I literally just used the template of that assistant. But if I now click on Talk with Lisa, we will be able to ask them questions, and that's exactly what I'm going to do.
Hello, this is Lisa. How may I assist you today?
Hey Lisa, who is the CEO of the company?
The CEO of Bright Horizons Realty is Jane Smith.
How many years of experience does he has?
I'm sorry, I need more context to understand who you are referring to. Could you please specify which person you are asking about?
Sure, I'm talking about the CEO and founder. How many years of experience does he have?
Jane Smith, the CEO and founder of Bright Horizons Realty, has over 20 years of real estate experience.
So as you can see, it basically has the context directly within here, and you don't need to configure anything else. There's basically no custom tool or custom function that you need to add to make this work. Everything will work right out of the box, and it's actually pretty fast for the fact that it's actually a vector database in the backend. So since I know this question will definitely be coming up, I'm going to answer it right here, right now. And it's going to be how you can actually implement website content right into this assistant using those documents. And for now, unfortunately, there is no API endpoint documented, so I'm not exactly sure if there's one that actually exists, but I'm pretty sure there will be, or very soon in the future. So once that is the case, I will probably make a video about it if you guys really want to see that. But until then, I'm going to show you a manual way on how you can implement this website content in a more structured way into your documents. So obviously, you need to have a file that you can upload here. So what I suggest you to do is you pick a website of your choice where you want to get the information from, or where's the information located that you would like to implement. So in my case, I'm just going to use our agency website. I copy the main URL, and I head to a tool called To the Web, which basically allows you to extract the website content from a website. Obviously, this is just a free tool and it is manual, which is sufficient for that case. You can also use any other kind of tools that you can automate with make.com. There are tons of web scrapers out there where you can get information from websites in a more visual way without all of the other context around it. So basically the HTML structures, etc. So all I do is I paste my website URL within here, select that I'm not a robot, and I click on Convert Text. And as you can see now, it basically shows me the whole text of my website. So what you can do is you can basically copy the text. You can simply drop it into ChatGPT and ask it to write it in a markdown language and just structure the information more so that it's better accessible. Because as you can see right now, it still is just text that is written down with a couple of line breaks. So basically how it was inside of the website. So let's just say I'm going to copy that part of the website right here. I can head into ChatGPT, create a new chat, and now say something like, please structure the following content smartly and use markdown language. So now I'm just gonna paste my content, click enter, and what it does now, it basically creates the markdown, which again is just easier later on for ChatGPT to read and as well for vector databases to figure out the content. Because in my opinion, I just like to have the things structured. So As you can see, it did it well. So all you need to do now is you literally just copy that part, you paste it into a text file that you find anywhere on your computer if you haven't created already one. You save that content, and then you are going to upload that content into the documents right within here. And then you can use that information directly inside of the assistant. As mentioned, this is a manual workaround until I know that there's actually an API endpoint available that I can use, but for now this is sufficient. Now lastly, to make sure you're not depending on the static assistants inside of Vapi, I will show you a way on how you can use those uploaded files inside of a transient-based assistant that you can just use for inbound and for outbound phone calls. The easiest way to make it work is using my custom make.com outbound framework that I created for you, where you basically can edit your assistants directly inside of Vapi in a static way, but you can also use custom parameters to kind of simulate a transient-based assistant, which then runs through my smart automation framework to basically translate that static assistant into a transient-based assistant. So this whole framework supports that custom documents right out of the box, so you don't need to do anything else except of just work inside of Vapi as we have done it already so far. I'm going to link up the video up here if you would like to check it out. This is where I'm basically configuring this framework so that you get an understanding of how you can simply implement it. All of the resources are obviously, again, available completely for free inside of my resource hub, so you can simply head over there and get the files and get started by yourself. In case there is any reason that you don't want to use my custom framework, either because you have your very own platform for it, your very own software solution, I'm going to show you right here a manual way on how you can implement them directly into the transient-based assistant so that you can leverage that feature from any kind of platform wherever you would like to. Obviously, there's not much of a documentation available, so I'm literally just working with whatever I figured out myself here. So please bear with me if I'm not able to cover every feature, but I will try to get my best out of it. And in that case, it is probably enough to get you going on both inbound and outbound agent with those custom files using transient-based assistant JSON. All right, so the first part is basically figuring out how that structure internally looks and how we can get that information. To do that, it makes most sense to see what an actual JSON-based assistant looks like when we actually have set that information. And to do that, Vapi offers us a really cool endpoint that is called Create Assistant, which you will find inside of the documentation under API reference and List Assistant. After you click on List Assistant, you will see a couple of values here, which we can now use to actually make a request to and grab that assistant from within Vapi. And this again in return just returns us the JSON-based assistant, which we can then use again to see the values that are actually appended inside of that static assistant so that we can leverage them inside of our transient-based assistant. It sounds complex, it's actually fairly easy. The only thing we need for that is a tool that we can use to actually make API requests to. And I'm going to use Postman. If you have not heard of Postman, it is basically a free tool where you can test APIs and webhooks. I will also link it up in my resource hub, so you can simply sign up here. And once inside of Postman, you will see a view like this, where you have a little plus up here, which you're going to click, which then again adds a new API request or a new web request in the first place. So now we obviously would like to get the assistant. So I'm going to get assistant because the list assistant actually returns us all of the assistant. We don't want that, we want to have a specific assistant. So the get assistant endpoint is the right one. And after you click here, you will see up here a URL inside of the curly request. You're just going to copy that one, you head back into Postman, you paste it right here. You remove this ID parameter at the end, which is where we need to define the static assistant of the ones that we created inside of the Vapi dashboard. So we head simply to Vapi, we go to assistant, we open our assistant, which I already have here, and you can see here there is a ID, and I can copy that by clicking on that button. I head back into Postman, paste the URL right at the end, and if I send now, you will see we get a authentication error because we haven't authenticated ourselves. To do that, all you do is you click on authorization, and you select bearer token, and you add your bearer token right within here. After you've done that, you can literally click on send, and it will retrieve that assistant for you so that you can actually see what is inside of it. So this is basically the method I have used to figure out how that structure for that custom knowledge looks like. And if you're scrolling down here now, you will see within the actual model, at the very end, we have a new key called knowledge base. And this is where we have all of this information available. Just to show you the other feature that I mentioned earlier, if we go into the dashboard and I enable this detect speech emotion, I publish it. If I'm going to refresh this whole assistant now, we will also see a new key that basically defines this emotion recognition enabled. So this one you can also set in case you would like to activate it and you would like to have emotion recognition directly inside of your prompts and the conversation. Obviously, in this video, I'm not going too deep into it, but I want to just show you the knowledge base and how you actually configure it and what those values mean. So as you can see here, you have the knowledge base key, which basically just defines that this is the information about that knowledge page where you basically can add your custom files. You have top K, which is a more technical parameter. What that basically means is when the stuff runs through the vector database, which is basically the logic that happens behind the scenes when you add some custom documents, there are a certain number of results or vectors that are closest to each other whenever you ask something to the vector database. And top K basically just defines the number of vectors that should be returned whenever you give it some input. So it sounds complicated, but you can imagine it like a Google search where you basically just type in a word or a long tail keyword whatsoever, and it returns you a couple of results. And top K would basically just define the uppermost 2 results. And in case you would change the number for 3, it would basically just return you the uppermost 3 results, etc. And this information is then again used inside of the prompt for the assistant to access in the moment it is answering. So by default, I would say you can just leave it at 2. It is probably like the most common set. I mean, you can of course also increase it to 3 or 4, which again just helps you to cover a bit more of context, but the error rate could also be higher in case it is not properly done. So I would just leave it at 2 if you're not exactly sure what works best. Otherwise, you can obviously just try it out, just set it to 1, set it to 5, whatever works best for you and where you get the best results. Then you have the file IDs, which is nothing else than the IDs of the files that you have uploaded inside of the Vapi dashboard. So if you go to documents right here, you have the file ID up here, which you can copy, and you can literally just paste that one later on as well into the file IDs right here. And then the provider is probably just the provider of the vector database, so what they use. I know Canonical is a company that offers AI solutions as well, and I think like more scalable stuff. I'm not exactly sure, I haven't really worked with them, but provider obviously usually just defines the provider of whatever they use to provide you the service in the first place. So in order to now use that response as a transient-based assistant, there are a couple of ways. If you have seen my previous videos, you probably already know that, but I'm just going to copy that part and I paste it into a JSON editor called jasoneditoronline.org. It is a free tool. You can simply go on their website and you have an editor where you can literally just create JSONs visually. So all I'm going to do now is I paste this JSON here. And if you have seen my debugging video, you know exactly that you need to remove a couple of values to actually create an assistant that works. So I just remove those fields right here. And now we also have the knowledge base right in here with all of our values. So if I would like to now create an outbound calling agent or a phone call that calls someone else with that information that we have in here, so basically with a knowledge base, all I need to do is I need to format that request depending on what the Vapi API requires. So to do that, I simply head back over to Vapi and I go to the create phone call API endpoint, which is this one. So we can now basically just fire an API endpoint to a custom number and try it out and see if that assistant actually has access to the whole files and the knowledge base. And to do that again, we are going to use our Postman tool to create a temporary API request, and we do that by clicking here on the plus. And now we're heading back into our documentation, copying this URL right up here, paste it into Postman, and I think they require a post request. So we're gonna change the request type to post. And obviously you need to set up your authorization again, where you choose the bearer token, which is what I'm going to do now. So I've just selected that one. And what you do now is you basically just take care of the payload, which is where the whole logic and magic happens. So you can simply head to body, you click on draw and you select JSON from the dropdown. So you will have an empty JSON right within here. So if we're heading now back into the documentation, you can see that right within the whole payload here, they have a couple of keys that we need to define, which is either an assistant ID or an assistant. By the way, it's also documented right here, so you can read through it. In my case, we are going to use the assistant because we would like to have a transient-based assistant and not a static assistant like from the backend. So in order to do that, what I'm going to do is we simply head over to JSON editor. I'm going to create a new JSON right within here, and I call that assistant, and I add some double points here. And now I'm going to paste this whole assistant JSON right within here. I click on this button here to format it so that it's just a little more visual, which is now exactly what we want here. So now we have basically the assistant defined, and I know for outbound calling there are a couple of other fields we need to define. So if you scroll here to the very end, you can see that you need to define either a phone number ID or a phone number, which then basically means that you import this phone number into Vapi so that they can add their endpoints into Twilio, if you use Twilio, to actually make those phone calls. In my case, since I already have a phone number inside of Vapi, which is right here, all I'm going to do is I use the phone number ID field and I create a new key up here with a double point. I add my double quotes, a comma at the end, and now I'm simply going into Vapi. I copy the ID of my phone number, and I paste it right within the JSON editor right here. So there's one more thing that we need to do for the transient-based outbound assistant, which is adding the actual customer, which is this part. So I'm just going to copy this part. I head back into our JSON editor, click enter and paste it here. I don't need the extension, so I remove this part and I change the name to Yannis. So this is basically me. I can now also make this whole thing dynamic if I would like to. So obviously, if you've seen my previous videos, you know exactly how to make it dynamic. And right within here, you basically add your phone number. So I'm not going to do this, so to just not expose my phone number, but all you need to do then, once you have added your number here, you copy this whole JSON and you head over to Postman and you paste it into the body right here. So I'm just going to add now my custom phone number and I will hide the field just so you don't see it. So give me a second. So I've just pasted my phone number and all I'm going to do now is I click on send, which then should make a phone call to my smartphone where we can see the transient-based assistant calling. So I'm going to make it on loud so that you can actually hear as well what it says and that it has actually access to the knowledge base that we basically connected to it. All right, I'm gonna click send. It sent the request. So now on my phone, we should see a call coming in, which is correct. So I accept it and let's talk to her. Hi there.
Hello, how can I assist you today?
Hey, who's the owner of your company?
The owner of our company is Jane Smith.
Cool. What are your opening hours on Tuesday?
On Tuesday, our opening hours are from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Perfect. So as you can see, it has access to all of the details that we uploaded into those files, and they will be right available within our transient-based assistant. So now let's assume you would like to customize those files and you want to adjust them depending on the assistant. If you have a transient-based assistant setup, all you would need to do is you would literally just need to add your field IDs or your file IDs of the files that you have uploaded inside of Vapi right within the file IDs key right here. You can just add a comma at the end and then just add multiple ones if you have multiple ones, and then just use them directly within your transient-based assistant. All right, I think that's what I got for you so far. And I know there's a lot of stuff pending. I just don't have the information myself yet, so I will definitely keep you updated. And in case you would like to see more in-depth videos like that, or even about the features that are out yet, or maybe even about to come, simply drop me a message down below in the comments. I'll answer all of them and look at all of them. So your feedback is appreciated because I'm making all of those videos for you guys. If there's anything you would like me to make for you, I'd be more than happy to do so. For now, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video and see you next time.